Abigail's Dream. Story and music and artwork by Abigail's grandpa, Carl. The voice of Queen Califia by Abigail's grandma, Paula. And the voice of Abigail by Abigail's aunt, Sky. Narration by Carl. Singing by Paula, Sky, and Carl. June 2019, Madison, Wisconsin. Once upon a time, a little girl named Abigail lived with her mama Judy and her daddy Matthew in a beautiful sunny land called California. Sometimes Abigail's mama and daddy sang a song about California for her.
We live in the Golden State, the land of milk and honey, the land of wine and traffic jams where days are always sunny. There's surfing and there's redwood trees as tall as you can see,
And earthquakes and big forest fires that make us want to flee.
California, California, it's the land of milk and honey. California, California, where the skies are always sunny.
Abigail's daddy taught her that California was named after an island paradise called Califia. Her mama taught her that the women on Califia used tools of solid gold to till the fields and grow their food. Abigail's parents told her that Califia was mythical, but she didn't know what that meant. She wanted very much to see this beautiful island, so she resolved to go there herself one day. Sometimes, after her mama and daddy had tucked her into bed for the night, she'd lie awake in the darkness and softly sing a little song about Califia to herself.
Califia is a wondrous land, an island paradise. It's home to fuzzy, friendly cats and lovely butterflies. I know someday I'll be there, and I hope it's very soon. I will go by boat, or maybe I'll swim or drift there by balloon.
One summer evening, Abigail's mama opened her bedroom window to let in the cool night breeze. Abigail lay awake in the darkness, humming quietly to herself and thinking about Califia. The soft sound of the tree branches swaying in the wind outside made her sleepy. The cool night breeze swished in through the window and lightly brushed her face. She began to drift off to dreamland, still humming the song about Califia. After a while, the wind grew stronger and ruffled the window curtains, making them flap in the moonlight like dancing ghosts and throwing spooky shadows across the room. The sound of the wind became more ominous. Whoosh, swoosh, roar, howled the wind. Abigail could hear the wind and see the dancing ghosts, but she wasn't sure if she was awake or dreaming. Suddenly a fierce gust tore through the window and blew over the lamp by her bedside, breaking the light bulb with a loud crash. Abigail was frightened. She hoped she was dreaming, but she wasn't sure. She pulled the covers tightly over her face. The howling wind was right in her room now and sounded like a monster coming to get her. As Abigail burrowed deeper under the covers, she felt the wind lift her bed and carry her out the window up into the night sky. She could feel the bed gently swaying under her, but it was not a scary feeling, more like a rocking cradle. Abigail felt brave enough to peek out from under the covers. She and her bed were swaying to and fro among the white fluffy clouds high up in the sky. How could that be? The glow of the full moon painted the tops of the clouds with a soft golden light. She peeked over the edge of her bed, and by the light of the moon could see the tops of tiny houses and people who looked no bigger than ants way below her. Abigail knew she should be scared, but she didn't feel afraid. She must be dreaming, but everything felt so real. Could it really be that she was flying on her bed way up in the night sky? The gentle swaying became bigger and bigger until the bed was whirling and swooping like a roller coaster. Abigail loved to ride the roller coaster. She started to giggle a little bit. And as she swooped among the clouds, she began to sing a little song about riding her roller coaster bed high up in the sky.
I'm riding on my bed way up so high, a roller coaster far up in the sky. Up we go to touch the sun, then swoop back down again, it's so much fun. Up and down and round and round, I'm having so much fun flying my bed.
Abigail peeked over the edge of her bed again, and was surprised to find that now she was far out over the sea. There was no land in any direction, just the rolling waves far below, and tiny seagulls skimming across the top of the waves in the moonlight. Her flying bed continued out to sea for quite some time. Abigail snuggled under the covers and let the gentle rocking of the bed lull her to sleep. She must have slept for a long time, because when she awoke, the sun was high in the sky, and the wind had died down. She was below the clouds now, and a lot closer to the rolling waves. All around her flitted tiny, brightly colored birds, chirping and singing. They were flying along with her, keeping her company, and she thought she could hear them talking to her.
Tweet, 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 chirp, 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 Abigail, come to play. Come with us, we know the way. It's not far, we're almost there, to a place so very fair. Tweet, 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 chirp, 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 follow us, we know the way.
Abigail strained to see ahead, and saw that the chirping birds were leading her flying bed toward an island in the sea. Very faintly, she could hear the sound of waves crashing on the distant beach. She was wide awake now and sat up in her bed watching the island get bigger and bigger. She could see that it was beautiful, with tall palm trees, rocky cliffs, and white sand beaches.
Califia?
Abigail wondered out loud to herself. Could it really be Califia? When they were quite close, just a few hundred yards offshore, where the waves were not yet starting to break, the wind calmed completely and gently set her bed down on the sea. Abigail was surprised to find that her bed made a fine boat, bobbing up and down with the waves. Just as she was thinking that maybe she should swim to shore, she heard the deep boom, boom, boom of a drum across the water. She looked toward shore and saw 3 large canoes cutting through the surf, moving swiftly toward her, each paddled by 4 women. In the stern of the largest canoe stood a 5th woman, drumming out the beat for the paddlers. As their paddles dipped and swung, they gleamed like gold in the morning light, and she could hear the women singing as they approached.
Sisters paddle strong and true, swift across the ocean blue. Dip, pull, and swing her up. Dip, pull, and swing her up. Golden paddles carry us along. We are brave and we are strong. We are the women of Califia. We are the women of Califia.
When the women reached her, Abigail could see they wore beautiful flowing robes fringed with gold. They had kind faces, dark skin, and shining black hair plaited into mini braids. Their paddles did indeed look like they were made of solid gold. As the women paddled close by Abigail's bed, the canoes seemed to draw her and all the little chirping birds along toward the white sand beach. As soon as they landed, the chirping birds flew off into the forest. 4 strong women jumped from their canoe and lifted her bed. With Abigail still under the covers, they carried her, bed and all, across the beach and down a path through the woods. The deep forest blocked most of the sunlight, but torches lined both sides of the path, showing the way. They came to a large clearing with a bonfire in the center, and in front of the bonfire stood the most magnificent woman Abigail had ever seen. Well, except for her mama, grandma, and Vozina, of course. She stood tall and proud and wore a crown of gold and feathers and carried a golden scepter. She spoke directly to Abigail.
Welcome to our land, Abigail. We are glad you're here. I am Califia, queen of this domain.
Abigail pinched herself to see if she was dreaming, but it just felt like a regular pinch. Queen Califia continued.
Please join us for our midday feast.
Abigail climbed out of bed and was astonished to discover that she was fully dressed in flowing gold-trimmed robes, just like the women of Califia. The feast was fabulous, with ice cream and pies and many delicious foods Abigail had never tasted before. When the feast was over, the women invited Abigail to join them in a traditional dance. One of the women took Abigail for a partner. As the band began to play, Queen Califia herself called out the moves, while everyone danced around the bonfire.
Take your partner and swing around, do-si-do, back-to-back. 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, and then twirl round and round until you're tired. Now do a free spin and then a reverse turn, thunderclap o'er your head. Twirl now your partner, now stomp your feet twice, do-si-do one more time.
Abigail loved the way her beautiful skirts swirled around her when she danced. She wanted to keep dancing forever, but Queen Califia took her gently by the hand and drew her to the edge of the dancers.
Come with me. You must see this.
They left the women dancing by the bonfire and walked a short distance through the woods. The sound of the music faded away and was gradually replaced by the sound of waves breaking against the cliffs and strange animal calls. They emerged into a large grassy meadow at the edge of the sea. Abigail gasped with wonder and surprise. Hundreds of huge winged creatures were sunning themselves in the meadow, sparring with each other and soaring in low, lazy circles just overhead. The eerie sound of their calls filled the air. They had the body, hind legs, and tail of a lion, and the front talons, head, and wings of an eagle.
Our griffins.
Explained Califia proudly.
They defend the island from all invaders.
She gave a low whistle, and one of the biggest griffins flew over and landed beside them, making such a wind with her wings that Abigail was nearly blown over.
Let's go for a ride,
said Califia, and before Abigail had time to think, they were airborne on the back of the griffin, flying high above the island. It was glorious. Abigail could see far across the island. Beautiful waterfalls, tall mountains, fields and forests and meadows and lakes. Here and there she could see a village of colorful cottages. Queen Califia showed her how to steer the griffin using her seat and outside aids, just like her mama had taught her to steer a horse. They swooped and soared and circled the entire island. Abigail thought she had never had such a grand time in her entire life. She exclaimed excitedly as they flew.
I'm riding on a griffin, I'm riding on a griffin, I'm way up high up in the sky and I'm in Califia. I'm riding on a griffin, I'm riding on a griffin.
Queen Califia, who was riding just behind Abigail, put her hand on Abigail's shoulder and stopped her abruptly.
Abigail, hush. You must quiet down. The griffin is feeling your excitement becoming agitated. If she gets too nervous, she might do a barrel roll and we could fall off. Ride quietly. Don't grip with your thighs. Just move with her. You must do your part to help her stay calm and confident.
Abigail knew exactly what Queen Califia meant. This was what her mama had taught her about riding her horse Caliente. It was the same thing. With Abigail riding more calmly, the ride back to the meadow was peaceful. Abigail could hear the wind rushing by, and the slow flapping of the griffin's wings, and the sound of birds calling in the forest below. Far out at sea the sun was setting as they landed, casting a golden glow over the meadow. Queen Califia took Abigail's hand and led her back along the path to the bonfire. The dancers were gone, and the bonfire had burned down to just a few smoldering coals. They were alone in the clearing. Califia led Abigail to a small cottage at the edge of the clearing.
Abigail, your bed is in this cottage. It's been wonderful having you visit us. Now it's time for you to rest. Before you sleep, I want to give you something.
Califia placed a beautiful golden necklace with a griffin pendant into Abigail's hand and gently closed her fingers around it.
This was crafted by one of the finest artists in Califia. I hope you will remember us when you wear it.
Abigail thanked Queen Califia and climbed into bed. She tucked the golden necklace under her pillow. Califia left, and as darkness fell over the island, Abigail drifted off to sleep. She dreamed of riding a griffin high above the beautiful island of Califia. In her dream, she was careful to sing calmly, so the griffin didn't attempt a barrel roll.
I'm riding on a griffin. I'm riding on a griffin. I'm way up high up in the sky, and I'm in Califia.
Abigail was tired and slept a long time. Bright sunlight streaming through the window finally woke her. She blinked the sleep from her eyes and saw that she was somehow back in her bedroom at home. Her mama came in, sat on the bed beside her, and asked if she'd had any dreams. Abigail told her all about her wonderful adventure in Califia, but insisted it wasn't a dream. Her mama just smiled, gave her a kiss on the cheek, and told her to hurry and get dressed. Breakfast was ready in the kitchen. Abigail lay back on her bed and gazed at the ceiling, thinking about Queen Califia, and the dancing, and the griffins, and her flying bed. It all felt so real. How could it be a dream? As she lay there, she remembered the golden necklace. Tentatively, not really believing it could be there, she reached under her pillow, and to her surprise, there it was! Beautiful, shiny gold with a griffin pendant, just as she remembered it. Abigail smiled to herself and put the necklace back under her pillow. She ran down the stairs to the kitchen and kissed her mama on the cheek. Next time, she resolved, I'm taking Mama with me. The end.